Hi, welcome to DevotedGolfer.tv. My name is Woody Lashin, the co-owner of Pete's Golf Shop in Mineola, New York. My guest today is Tom Patri. Tom Patri is a former NCAA champion. He's the author of the Six-Spoke Approach, and he's also a Golf Magazine Top 100 teacher.
Thanks, Woody. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Tom. Give me a little overview of your teaching, Tom.
You know what? I've been teaching 36 years this year coming up.
36 years.
36 years. So I've got a lot of scars, a lot of wounds. You know, basically, I'm a fundamentalist. I'm not a method teacher. You know, I'm kind of old school. You know,
okay.
I'm not a high-tech guy. And I probably really haven't done anything different than I would have done it 25 years ago, with the exception of the use of video.
Okay. Okay. How does club fitting interact with your teaching? When do you talk to a student about it?
Almost immediately. I mean,
okay.
It's a real vital part of my teaching. You know, it's amazing to me in 2014 how many people still show up with bad equipment. With people like you around and the industry the way it is today, and the amount of education that the average player has, you know, via the Golf Channel or you know places like we are right now, you know, magazine information, books, you know, internet. It's incredible to me how bad the equipment is. Not the quality of the equipment, but the quality of the fit in the average player's bag.
Right.
So it's something I address almost right away.
So you go right away, and you'll tell them, hey, go out and.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when they come to me with bad equipment, they almost handcuff me from helping them. You know, I mean, you don't teach to misbalance. You teach to balance. Okay. So when a person comes with you know, with a radically misfit shaft, length of club, lie angle, you know, head style, whatever it happens to be, you're asking them to make a bad swing to get a good result. It doesn't work very well. But
you don't try to fit it yourself?
No, and you know, it's funny, I'm a certified fitter, you know, via a lot of different companies. I feel like as a teacher and as a coach, if I try to fit the student myself, and it's a regular student of mine, I'm going to prejudice the fit. So I certainly have an idea of what they might need, but I'm going to send them to you, and I'm going to ask you to provide a spec sheet back to me. I'm going to look at the spec sheet, and unless something really funny, if there's something really funny in the spec sheet, you know, I check it off and I said, go hit the bid.
And when I find something real different, we have a little bit of argument sometimes.
We do. I don't think we have an argument. We might have a discussion. No, I mean, I think that, you know, with you and I in our career together, 99.9% of the time we've been on the same page.
Yeah, most of the time.
You know,
it's rare.
I think you know, as long as I've been doing this, and I feel like I'm fairly knowledgeable about what I do, and I consider you an expert. I think that, you know, when people get fitted, very rarely are we not on the same page. They might not understand that, but we do, and you almost have to get the student to get out of the way for a little while, right, and let us do our job.
Right. Let's talk a little about lane-to driver, because it's kind of a little pet peeve of mine, and something that you and I have worked on a little bit back and forth.
Yeah. I think it's funny. You know, we grew up. I mean, at least I did, when, you know, the club was still wooden, and the shaft was always steel.
43 inches.
And it was 43 to 43 and a half inches, and that was what we played. You know, and the light bulb went on for me about a year ago when I came to you. I still have the Tony Penna driver that I won the NCAA with in '81. And I was a pretty good driver of the golf ball. And recently, you know, and I don't play a lot of golf anymore, you know that. But you know, recently my driving of the golf ball has been horrific. And I picked up that club one day, I don't know if you remember this, and I said, you know, actually it was Ono in your shop. I said, tell me what the spec is of this driver. I want to know what the loft is, certainly, you know. Because, you know, back then it was a 1 on the bottom of the club.
Right,
and
right.
You picked up
and you figure it's got to be the loft that's making a difference.
And I had a suspicion, and I had a perception in my head that was a 10-degree driver, you know, even though we didn't know back then, really. Right. And it was a little bit above 12 degrees. And that was a big revelation for me, first of all. And the second thing was that it was 43 and a half inches. So what do we do now? I've got a, you know, a 10.5 degree Titleist that's cranked up to 12 degrees, and it's 43 and a half inches. And what an amazing thing. My driving is pretty good all of a sudden. it's amazing what happens when you have a straight arrow, isn't it? Isn't that unbelievable? What a revelation.
Because I just find it, and for me in fitting, it's a big deal. You know, today these drivers are made longer, 45 and a half, 46,
I'll
46 and a half.
I'll give you the pet peeve within the pet peeve. You know, women's drivers.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you know, the average female player at the club level comes to you, and they can't hit the ball in the center of the club face. You know, they can't make contact with the golf ball. Forget if they're athletic or non-athletic, they can't hit the ball in the center of the face. And you and I think, both agree that center face contact is a pretty big deal. And you look at women's drivers, and I'll take women's drivers out, and I'll stand my driver up, and I'll stand their driver up, and say, well, listen, you're 5'2", and I'm 5'9", and your driver is 2.5 inches longer than mine. Does that mean anything to you? And the average woman looks and goes, oh, I don't understand the point. So now you have to educate them.
Right.
And you say, listen, here's the deal. And you're talking about, you know, center face contacts and you know, and variabilities, and you educate them a little bit, and the light bulb goes on, and they go, well, that makes sense. And then I send them to you, and
then when they're hitting it better, they go back to you and say, Tom, you're a genius.
You're a genius, yeah. And we both know I'm not a genius.
I'm curious about the book you wrote, 6-Book Approach.
Yeah.
Give me a little overview of the book. And
I'll give you a quick one. 93 season ended teaching, and I'm the guy that every single night goes back and looks at my book and makes a couple notes about, you know, Mr. Smith at 9 o'clock and Mr. Jones at 10 o'clock and, you know, what I did that hour. And I also think during that time, what did I miss during that hour? And then the overview of that is every year I go back into the book and I do the same thing as an overview. Was there a trend that I missed during the year?
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of '93, I was really frustrated, and I felt like, you know, people who devoted a lot of time and energy to their teaching, and I certainly was passionate about my teaching, weren't getting better as fast or as much as I thought they should. So I kind of went on this journey, Woody, and I spent an awful lot of money, time, and energy, and had my butt in plane seats a lot of times, chasing people for information. And you couldn't name anybody that the teaching world knows that I didn't spend time with.
mm-hmm.
But I also spent time with club fitters, spent time with biomechanics, spent time with exercise physiologists, way pre-TPI type thing, some really neat people, and just started realizing that we're missing a lot of components. So the 6 spokes basically, you know, is the mind, the body, time management, statistical analysis, fitting, and technique. And technique is, in fact, what I do is number 6, because I feel like if the other 5 aren't in place, then I'm not going to be very efficient at what I do. So having a Woody on my team, you know, having a TPI type person on my team, having a statistical program that they can sink their teeth into on my team, developing a time management routine based on their lifestyle, maybe having a mental side coach for my more advanced players on my team, are all those spokes that I kind of embrace if the person wants to optimize what they're trying to do.
Right, but any level can do that, and it was a time management. So I come to you and say, Tom, I've got 2 hours a week.
You know, the guy comes to you and says, I want to be a 5, I'm an 11, and you say, well, have you got more time this year? And he says, no. You say, well, you might want to realign your goals a little bit or become very creative in the evening, you know, because, you know, listen, it takes reps.
Right,
It
right.
takes reps. You know.
Well, that's one of the things I love about you is you tell them the truth.
Well,
You don't tell them what they want to hear.
and, you know, that's probably cost me some business over the years, Woody.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can put my head on the pillow at night, too.
That's
And
why I
the
do it that
And the
way.
people that do comply, what a miraculous thing, they actually get better.
And you,
So.
and you feel good about it because you're
Yeah, I mean, and,
doing the
and
right
again,
thing.
And again, I mean, I think that's one of the things that attracted me to you guys at Pete's is that you guys do the same thing from a fitting standpoint. You know, you know, a guy wants this, and you go, that's not going to work for you, so I'm not going to sell it to you. I've had people come to you, and they were willing to spend money, and you told them what was in their bag was fine, and most guys would have sold them a new set of golf clubs. And I think that honesty comes back and pays dividends.
Well, I think that's why it works together because I can't do it. I need to do the right thing, and
Right.
if you don't need something, I'm not gonna
Right.
change it.
Right, and you shouldn't.
If I want to find you, where can I find you?
Really simple, www.tompatri.com. You know, now in today's world with Google and everything else, it's pretty easy to find people, but that's my website, and I'm in New York during the summer from May 15th to October 15th at a place called Friar's Head, where I do have some availability to teach non-members.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the winter, I'm in Naples, Florida at my own academy at a place called The Quarry.
Okay.
But the best place to find me is at tompatri.com.
I think the neatest thing about tompatri.com is I can video my swing on my iPhone and send it to you, and you can say, Woody, what have you been doing?
I have an online lesson academy now where people. It's really neat, Woody. I mean, I've got 150 people around the world I'm teaching right now that I've never met. It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Spectacular. Tom, thanks for your time.
Woody, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Again, my name is Woody Lashin. You've been watching DevotedGolfer.tv.